All right, let's go over some Keystone problems. So with Keystone related problems, it's really important that we use test-taking strategies to help us when possible. So that means like if we have a multiple choice question, there's going to be 4 options there. One of them is the answer. So you can use test-taking strategies to cancel out answers that maybe don't make sense, to try and narrow it down to 3 choices or 2 choices, especially if you don't really know what the answer is. If you use test-taking strategies and you cross off answers that maybe don't make sense, then your chances of guessing the correct answer increase if you get rid of the answers from 4 down to 3 down to 2 and so on. Now for these questions, I think you'd be able to answer them. I don't think you would have to ever guess for these particular ones because they're right in the section we're working on. But when we get time for the actual Keystone, if there is a question you're really not sure, then you would want to look at the 4 choices and cancel out anything that doesn't make sense. So in these problems, we're basically reading the question, which is usually a word problem, and determining what the equation would be or what the solution represents, and we can use the 4 choices to find our answer, or we can find the answer and then match it to one of the choices. So number 1, Jenny has a job that pays $8 per hour plus tips. Jenny worked for 4 hours on Monday and made $65 in all. Which equation could be used to find T, the amount Jenny made in tips? So we know she makes $8 per hour, and we know that she worked 4 hours in total. So when I'm looking at these equations, I should be seeing $8 an hour times 4 somewhere because I know that she worked a total of 4 hours. So if she makes $8 an hour times 4 hours, she would make $32 plus tips. So plus T would be equal to $65 in all. So this one right here, letter D, looks like it would be the correct answer to me. Number 2, in an experiment, a plant grows 0.05 centimeters per day. The plant had a height of 2 centimeters when it started. Which equation describes the relationship between the number of days the experiment lasts and the height in centimeters of the plant? So I like how all 4 of these choices start with height equals. But now we have to figure out what the equation is. So instead of using the 4 choices, why don't I create my equation? I know it grows 0.05 centimeters per day, and D represents the number of days, so that would be 0.05D. So I can already see that some of these might not make any sense. And I know the plant started at 2 centimeters tall, so that would be plus 2. That would be equal to its total height. So looking at this one, the only one that this could possibly be would be A. So for number 2, it would be A. All right, let's check out number 3. Keystone buys 100 baseball cards to start a collection. He purchases 25 more baseball cards each week. Which equation could be used to represent the number of baseball cards B in which Keystone has after W weeks? All right, so it's important to realize that our equation is going to be the number of baseball cards he has equal to how many weeks that he is doing this. So I know the equation has to be either C or D because of the fact that the number of baseball cards is going to be equal to how many weeks he is saving. So A and B are not going to be it. So I'm already down to C and D, just 2 choices. So he starts at 100 baseball cards and purchases 24 more per week. So I know it's going to be 25 per week, so it should have 25W plus the 100 he starts out with is equal to B, which is going to be letter C. All right, number 4, a person's hair is 8 centimeters long. The equation below can be used to estimate the length, L in centimeters, that a person's hair will be after W weeks. Based on the equation, what will the estimated length of a person's hair be after 10 weeks? So since weeks is representing how long we're waiting in time, we would replace 10 in for W and solve. So it would be 10 over 4 plus 8. And 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. 2.5 plus 8 is 10.5. So the final answer for this one would be 10.5 centimeters. Moving on to the next page, which starts at number 1 again, we have Miss Bernard monitored the growth of a fish. The fish originally weighed 27 ounces. The fish grew at a rate of 5 ounces per month. The equation below can be used to describe the weight in ounces of a fish. 72 equals 27 plus 5x. Well, looking at these four choices, this is the only one that makes sense. It took 9 months, since x represents months, for the fish to grow total and be 72 ounces. Number 2, looking at the equation and what it represents, x represents days, y represents number of words she knows. So the ordered pair 648 represents that Sylvia knows 48 words after 6 days. Number 2 would be letter C. Moving on down to the next one. Juan answered all 50 questions on a test. He earned 3 points for each question he answered correctly. He lost 1 point for each question he answered incorrectly, kind of like IXL. His final test score was 102 points. So part of the solution says that x is equal to 38. And what does that represent? Well, we know x is the number of questions he answers correctly, so that would mean the answer is A. Okay, so flipping this over to number 4. Jake bought X pairs of thermal socks and Y shirts at the department store. He spent a total of $80. The following equation describes the relationship between pairs of socks and number of shirts purchased. The ordered pair 42 is the solution. What does it represent? Well, it tells us that X represents number of socks and Y represents number of shirts. So every ordered pair is X comma Y, which means that it would be 4 socks and 2 shirts, which would be B. Similar to that question, the next one's very similar in that now we're just talking about hot dogs and hamburgers. So X is hot dogs, Y is hamburgers. So the solution to 1 would be 2 hot dogs and 1 hamburger. So that would be B. And again, the next one, number 6, is very similar to these ones in that we're just looking at the solution and saying what it means. This one is about popcorn, which is X, and drinks, which is Y. So 5-2 would be 5 for popcorn and 2 for drinks. So it would be 5 popcorns and 2 drinks. That would be